Estate Podcast, baby. We're taking people on a journey of how to find success in real estate through step-by-step process, and we're going through our journey as well, and always learning and trying to figure things out and get deals done. But today we wanted to talk about
Number 13, giving out / taking on a short-term loan, private loan. It'd be we can definitely talk through the experience that you and I have had together of taking one on to like get a deal done, like when Jason helped us out with the duplexes. And then also you and I have given out some short-term loans as well. Some have gone really, really well. Some currently we have one out that's not doing too well, and you've had a lot in the past, and it is fairly risky in a sense. And so
yeah,
I think it'd be good for you to talk about your experience with them too.
yeah. I mean, it's a great thing to have as a strategy when you need capital, to be able to call people for capital. That's why I got started doing it when I was first getting money from people, because I just wanted to be able to call someone and get money if I needed it for a deal. Whenever it's based and backed on real estate, it's really not that bad. And that's every time that I've had a bad deal, it failed because of that purpose.
Not being based on real estate.
Yeah, where you didn't get the deed. I had one where I lent a guy money and I actually ripped up the deed early with him
Before
payoff, and that came to bite me. But if you get the deed, it's really not a big deal. Like,
why'd you rip it up?
I was trying to be nice, and we had a pretty high late payment penalty. It was $5,000. Like, I can't remember, per week or per month. Like, it was a lot. And I lent him $65,000, and it ended up like he owed me like 140, something crazy. Yeah. And then like I basically just let him pay me like 75, but he paid me 70. And then I was like, yeah, he's like, I'll give you this. Like, he had already paid half of it or so, and then he paid the rest. And the last $5,000, he still hasn't paid me. And I'm like, that son of a, I ripped up the deed. I waived the fees. He basically paid me half of what he owed me. And I still,
and late fees.
Yeah. And I literally text him once a week. And it's like, it's more of a principle thing. I mean, I just want to be done with it. But that, if I would have just kept the deed in place at this point, I probably wouldn't have waived any of the fees because of the way he's gone about it. But yeah, I mean, we've lent out money to businesses and more of we had an agreement, but it was kind of like still somewhat handshake. It's just when it's backed by an asset, that's when you feel really good about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you do that, like it's really not that risky. But ultimately, yeah, you want to work with people you like and trust, and it's cool to give them out. You can make good money on loans and just lend it out and make 10, 15, 20% pretty quickly. That's if everything goes right. And then do the same. I would do like 12 to 15% per year. I would borrow money, and I would just, one, I would take the gamble that I could make more than that. And two, I would just like the idea of like successfully closing out loans with people. And I think I have like 3 or 4 out right now that I owe people like 35, 40, stuff like that. And then we have 2, 3 out with other people. But it's pretty cool. I mean, just moving money around and getting stuff done and having access to capital. And gotta do the promissory note, which details out the payment terms, and then the deed of trust, which puts the deed in your name. You go file the deed with the county, and then that's it. I mean, you can use these templates that you have. We did it with a guy I remember when we were doing it, we needed the money to or I felt like we did, to operate our business, because we were getting like 5, 10K per month. And like at the time it was like, oh, we were profitable.
It was helpful.
We're profitable. Yeah, I mean, we might have made like, I don't know, 10, 15K, but then like 5 or 10K on top of that for these loans. It like felt good. And then we probably could have kept doing that, but he just kept paying late every time.
Yeah, not too late, but
we were like kind of worried.
Well, they were back to back. So like 30K here, 50K here, 60K there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, one of these isn't going to work out. We just have a feeling.
Yeah. And thank God. And I hope he's okay. But we got out. Like I think we were kind of in the middle or the beginning of COVID on one of those, maybe.
No, it was this time last year when we were doing them.
What was COVID at this time? Like pretty rough.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So we were past that somewhat. But like if you had like 10 flips going on in COVID, like damn. And this guy was doing like.
Well, this time last year it was amazing. It was the hottest.
Yeah.
It
was like right at the end of it, like because like November, December, October of the previous year were still people are still kind of worried and unsure, and then it just blew up.
Yeah, and it blew up from then till the peak last year was in I think it was in June.
Yeah, a couple months after Tesla. God, that was so crazy, dude.
I think Tesla was a little bit. I think Tesla was 2020.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was so crazy how just looking at the MLS. Remember there was like you go to Round Rock and there'd be like 5 properties available. It was insane.
No multifamily really.
I mean, I remember like all the active listings on the MLS was like a couple hundred. Was it more than that? Maybe it was like there was just crazy stat like duplexes and stuff, and like all of the MSA was like 14.
Yeah,
it was so nuts.
It was. There's more, but like now, for the longest time, we always saw 5,000 plus when you do searches, and you didn't see that for a while.
Yeah. So
but it was good, and I mean, it's a good tool to have, and like like you're saying, if you're securing it with the real estate or some other asset, the promissory note and the deed of trust and the lien on the property, you're safe in it. To an extent, right? But like it
can get weird, right? Like even if it's, I've never gone through this, but like I think it's even a little challenging if you get it on someone's primary residence.
The lien?
Yeah. I don't think the courts look favorable upon that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's good. I think we've probably made from the money that we've lent out to various people, I think we probably made anywhere from like 60 to 100.
Yeah, I was about to say 70.
So it's great.
Number one tip: get the deed, get some kind of security, but have serious penalties for late fees.
Yeah,
because that's something I learned over time. That's why I did it for that other one, and then because it was happening with the guy before, and I think it was like it started with none, and then it was like 250, then 500, because every time it'd be a hassle.
It's hard to, I think if you want to talk about like the emotional part of it too, like say it's, someone that you're really close to and they need 50 for this or 60 for that, or maybe not even necessarily really close, but my biggest piece of advice would be to separate your emotions from any deal, but especially these deals when you're lending out money, because if you're trying to be nice and do something to help somebody out, it may not be the best business decision, and it may end up hurting you in the end.
Yeah, it's tricky, man. And
like there's been times where someone's reached out to both of us and you're like, hey, let's do it, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then you went ahead and did it. And
sure. Yeah, I'm doing it with somebody from high school. Probably, and he posted something on Facebook yesterday. Someone co-signed on a loan for me. I give you $3,000. My first thought's like, yeah, I'll do it. And everyone's different, man. I'm a straight gambler, maybe to a fault, but that's just what I like doing, and I like taking risks.
Well, there's also a difference between co-signing the loan and giving somebody, 50, 100 grand.
Totally. And this is somebody that I trust and seems like a good dude, but we'll see.
Emotions, or
I don't know. I'll tell you guys offline, but yeah, I think those are some.
You just gotta think through it and and secure it. Don't make emotional decisions, and because like you said, and I think every time we've lent it out, maybe not every single time, maybe one time it was paid on time, but pretty much every time they were late, either whether it was a day, a week, 2 weeks, So just be prepared.
Yeah. And things happen. Like I've been late on a couple of them, and what the worst thing you can do is not communicate. Like just if you're late, like, hey, this deal's closing in a week or 2 weeks, like just tell them where you're at, because that's the emotional side that sucks, is like having to check in, and more than the 3 or 4K this guy owes me, like the fact that I have to think about it and text him and deal with this is so annoying. And so if you're on the flip side or whatever, just know to communicate and like, hey, like if someone loans you money, like, yeah, there's a risk in it. Like this is business, right? And you structured the term however you need to, like you said, have the logistics, but just communicate. Like don't run. Same with a lender. Like if you can't pay a lender, it's best to just tell them what's going on, and they actually might work with you.
Yeah, for sure. I think communicating is extremely important. Not communicating that's when things get real weird.
Yeah, exactly.
But we've used just with you and I together, and like the duplex deal, we were able to. One of our partners lent us $100,000, I think, for like 5 days. I think it was like 5 days. We only needed it to close for the down payment. We paid him back origination point plus the interest, and
it can be great for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, he was happy. He said that paid for his vacation in Mexico, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then we got that $2 million deal done. Borrowed $2 million, paid back $2,041,000 or whatever it was. That was crazy.
That was.
Like, we could have just not got that done. I mean, we're lucky we got that done.
For sure. No, that was really helpful.
That was insane.
So it's a tool, and it's when you're the borrower, we've used it just in certain instances where we need it for an extremely short period of time to close a deal or to get something done, and then we pay it back. And if we needed to, maybe the 2 million thing would have been a little bit more difficult, but like for like the duplex deal, if we needed to, we could have, say something happened and closing got pushed or whatever, we would been able to figure out a way to pay back the lender.
Yeah.
But then when you're lending it out, it's good too, and you can, it's just another source of income. But you just got to be very, very smart and wise in those decisions.
Totally.
Because it can backfire pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah, and these are like short-term, higher interest rate loans in some sense. It's crazy to think about like just old school banks just lending slow and just being around for hundreds of years,
What do you mean?
Just like banking institutions, like half the time they're making like, a tenth of what the entrepreneur's making. But
sure.
But they're just like they're around.
Yeah, they're making the tenth of it. However,
safe.
They're using your money and they're paying you, like 1/50th of what they're making. So they're taking your money, they're paying you 0.25% interest, and then they're making the spread on whatever that is.
That's pretty cool. Too bad one of our grandfathers didn't start a bank. Yeah, that's what everyone would probably say, but those are cool. Those are cool models. I mean,
what, creating money out of thin air,
right? Borrowing it from the government, marking it up.
Well, that's what banks do. They turn $1 into 10.
Yeah.
I forget the actual. We studied it in economics, but it's create money out of thin air with the way that they give out these loans.
Creature at Jekyll Island, man. I read the whole book of how the Federal Reserve got started. It's insane.
Creature of Jekyll Island?
Yeah. You ever heard of it? These guys, I don't know exactly how many, but like 13 or 20 maybe. The richest men in the world, like literally like the Rothschilds and JP Morgan and guys like that, they all went to Jekyll Island and they came up with the Federal Reserve, the whole concept of it. And to this day, it's literally a what do they call it? It's a cartel. That's what they say that it is. It's a full monopoly cartel, and they're not really tied to the government, and like it's that's where the money comes from. It's
Right.
insane.
You got your secret account up there.
Yeah,
Federal Reserve.
yeah, your 1099 A's with QAnon.
Uh-huh. All right. So I think we should touch on one more thing, and then we can sum up the last step next time. Let's go with you. Joint venture, acquire deal partners. So this has been very beneficial, with you and everything that you've done, and then us and all the people that we partnered with. And there's nothing wrong with not partnering with people, right? But it is a way to go a long way by partnering with people and doing deals with people, and you can bring different skill sets and different resources together by doing that. You can own a lot more deals by partnering with people and JVing with people. But at the same time, similar to, lending out money, is just be wise and smart about who you do partner with, because it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like literally one or the other. Maybe you have a different thought, but it's either really good or really bad.
I think there's an average.
Yeah.
I think there's like an okay one, but you wish it was really good, and then therefore it's really bad.
Yeah, right. Like if it's okay, like
But
it's
like really bad ends pretty badly.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
there's some okay ones that just
Yeah, and they take time, but like it almost seems like the okay ones over time they pick a direction.
Yeah,
right.
for
Like
sure.
it's either it might be in the middle for a little bit, but it's moving one direction.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Right.
I guess a lot.
And it can go back and forth. I mean, we have a lot of partnerships,
Mhm.
and every now and then, like ones that we thought were like okay, they start to turn out to be really good, or they seem like they're getting to really good. And we have a lot where like we're hoping on a lot of things firing on all cylinders, and if it were to all play out, it'd be amazing. But we don't necessarily expect that to happen with every partnership.
No. And that's why it's good to that's why I think it's good to lines in the water and different sources of income and like different chips here and there, right? You place enough chips on the roulette table, one of them's going to hit somewhere.
Yeah.
And so, like while these may be doing really bad, or these partnerships for whatever reason may not end up working out or whatever, on like this deal or that deal, or like this flip that we partnered on here with this person, maybe it's like going to break even or lose money, and we learn a lot there, but these three over here are doing really well, and so it kind of evens out the playing field a little bit.
Yeah.
But be wise, because they can turn bad pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it's not even like in the business sense of things, like sure, maybe you missed out on, if it goes badly, maybe you miss out on the opportunity, maybe it didn't turn out to be as good of an opportunity as you thought, but even more than that, it's an emotional drain when the partnership doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but there's been a few partners that we bought deals with where when it does end, it's not usually, again, it either goes one way or the other. And like one way, it's like everybody's okay and, just move on. And then the other way is like, it's like instant war or something over, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But
we got one right now where we're not on the same page and we're just sitting on it.
I think we're on the same page.
Are we on the same page right now?
I think so. I was talking about, I think I know what you're referring to, and you're talking about where we're just going to move forward with.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, but that's not what we wanted, and that's not what it's just not what we did it for. We wanted everyone to be happy and on fire and turn this thing into something special with multiple tenants. And
well, I think that's happening.
Okay, we'll see.
I mean, it's in progress.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Where we're at now is what we were all fired up about in the beginning. That's what we thought was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's and I just think you got to like get out there and take risks on things, and you're not going to know. There's an unknown element, right? Like when you're looking at partners, you don't ever really know what it's going to turn into. Try your best, but you can't just analyze it and just like sit on it. Like you got to make a decision one way or another, and there's going to be a level of risk because you just don't know how everybody operates in pressure situations or in crunch time or when things are good or when they're bad. And everybody that I'm trying to help one of our buddies right now with his partnership that's new
Restaurant.
auto
Uh-huh.
and like it's like someone told me this and it's true. It's like partnerships are actually really easy when no money's being made, but when money gets involved, like it can get really complicated. And so when you're starting stuff out, you might feel like, oh, we're 50-50 and like things are good. And then all of a sudden you're making $1 million and you don't feel happy about it. And then animosity starts coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to prepare him for that because, there's a structure in place that I just want to make sure that like he's, it's fair because it feels okay now, but what that might feel like in the future could be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's good to, if possible, same thing with like deals though. Like as much as you can, do your own due diligence on it, in the sense of like, try and date the person a little bit in a sense. And there's also like some people that I just absolutely would never buy a deal with. I don't care how good the deal is, just due to the fact that I know what it's going to be like being in a relationship with them. I just absolutely won't do it. I don't care about missing out on whatever opportunity may arise. It's much more to me. It's much more worth it to not be involved with certain individuals than to miss out on the opportunity.
The mental stress is intense. But yeah, I think
you're getting married in a sense, and
yeah.
so like you need to really consider who you're going to get married to, and other good things. Just like we were talking about with loans, is communicating, right? So communicating up front, and then ultimately talking about what happens in the divorce up front.
Yeah.
Because in this partnership, it may not work out. And if you're not making any money yet, like you're talking about, things are a bit easier when you're not a year or two down the road. So it's much easier to talk about what happens if this doesn't work out at the beginning than it is when you're in the middle of it. Because when you're in the middle of it, it's not that easy to discuss those things.
Yeah, totally. And you're gonna. It's so hard to like catch people up to speed, and like if you've had a partnership for a couple of years and you're trying to get help from even advice or an attorney, like unless you're like preparing for this every day and writing notes and documenting it, like it's freaking complicated.
What do you mean?
Just like when I was breaking up with a management company, like I didn't really feel like I had many people to help me like get through it. And like
from like a legal standpoint?
Yeah, just everything. Like there's been people I've talked to that are like, dude, I could have helped you with that in different ways. But it's so hard to like, it's all so fast paced. Like it's happening every day, every second. And, obviously there's always multiple sides to a story. So I don't want it to be like, this is exactly what's happening. Like you're trying to like lay it out and like get advice, but it's freaking complicated.
It's in a sense. I mean, it's not though if everything's written out. Like it's not complicated.
You knew my deal; it was written out,
right?
Literally.
Well, yeah,
it was like super clear.
But then what was the issue?
I get maybe being naive. I'm not sure. Like, talk to multiple attorneys, and they're like, "Well, I know that it says this, but a court could perceive it this way."
Well, maybe it could have been spelled out a little bit more
clear. It was pretty clear.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah.
Versus like gross or net.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it could have been spelled out as gross as opposed to being perceived as either
Yeah.
gross or net.
Put it in bold, underline it,
Yeah.
highlight it.
But
Still, dude, I'm telling you.
yeah,
Just like we're doing this deal with this
at
guy.
a very minimum, though, it provides a structure. Because imagine if nothing had been there.
We're doing a deal with the guy right now that we've now met with 3 times. I talked to his attorney yesterday, and they're going to claim that we took advantage of. That's literally like for no other reason than the fact that they can do that. And like I'm scared that they might actually win. Like that's BS.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about here.
Right. Yeah, well, a little different than what we're talking about, but yeah, even if it is written out, sure, it doesn't mean that exactly that's what's going to happen. However, you can always refer back to that at least as a starting point.
I get it.
Because otherwise, it could be
Anything.
infinite.
I know. I get
number
it.
of things.
The takeaway I'd say is like you just as best as you can. You want to be in business with foxhole people who are in your foxhole who you want to go to war with, and if somebody's not in your foxhole, then that's okay. Like there's different foxholes that exist, right? Like you just want to have people that have your back no matter what, and that's the only people I want to partner with, just because of how intense business and life and everything is, and how bad it can be if it's not going good.
But it is hard to know that up front.
It is. That's why I said you got to have a little risk, like because a lot of people are like super analytical and they're gonna just analyze and think and do everything they can and then never do it. But like there is a risk, like for sure, with any partnership.
Yeah, I think everybody understands that. But do your best to mitigate it and like really ask yourself. And some of the most important things I think to discuss up front are, depending on what type of partnership it is, but like if you're just buying one deal together, say you're going to JV and flip a property with somebody, I think it'd be very important to define who's doing what during the process of that flip.
Mm-hmm.
Like whose responsibilities are what and who's bringing what to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Outline it. How are profits going to be calculated? How are funds going to be distributed? If the project extends further than you think in the timeline, who's responsible for putting in extra money if needed? Is it both parties? Is it one party? How does that work? So really thinking through the entire process, who's responsible for what, outlining it all, getting it in writing if you can. That way all parties agree to it. So like something like that's fairly simple in a sense. You can easily outline that. But then there's other things that can be, a little bit more difficult to identify.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately I would, depending on like where you stand with, your own morals and values and such, like if working with people who believe and have the same outlook on various things that you do, if that's really important to you, then I would look for those people and I would try my best to identify that in these people that you're looking at, JVing with. And it's also good if you can find that. And then also you'll have, different skill sets and or different resources. So like maybe you don't have access to capital, but you've got contractors and you can find the deal in that. Maybe they have capital and they can get the loans, right? And they have the same morals and values and all those things that you do, and y'all get everything down in writing. And if y'all can come together, it's pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
So try and find if you can, offsetting skill sets and resources in JV deals. And then 2, try and find somebody that you really want to work with and that y'all have the same vision for it, or just in general have the same morals and values. Because otherwise, when you start clashing, you're just gonna
ruins everything.
Yeah, and you're just gonna be clashing for forever. And it's really not even like a financial thing at that point. There's some financial stuff in it, but the emotional side of it is so draining and time consuming that it's almost not even financial.
Mm-hmm.
The heartache of it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, takeaway is there's positives and negatives to raising capital, to taking on loans, to giving out loans, having partnerships. try to lay it out the best you can, understand all the sides, be clear. We're happy to help people with like contracts and experience. Like we can look at contracts. We're not attorneys. Obviously, best to get an attorney, but we can give you our experience and things to look out for and be prepared for. And we're also always looking for new partners, right? Because a lot of great people out there. And so if we can provide value or help, we're here. And ultimately, like I am a fan of partnerships for sure, and I know you are too. And so you just got to find those right ones, and then they can be beautiful.
That's key.
That's it, baby. Thank you, guys. Next time we will talk about the final aspect, commercial real estate, and then we're done with the roadmap. If you want to get anything in the meantime, reach out if you can. Leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts or opinions. If you had a good partnership, a bad partnership, something you learned, something that would be insightful or valuable for us to hear, please post that. Would love to talk through that with you as well. If you're going through a breakup and you were like I was at a time and you want someone to help you, let me know. I'd be happy to dive in there with you. And thank you guys so much. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Check us out on TikTok. We're having some fun there. Hope you have a blessed day.